Hello and welcome to Good Game, the show for gamers, by gamers. I'm Junglist, and he's Bajo, and we've got a huge show for you this week. We've been going hard on Command & Conquer 3 Tiberium Wars, and we're going to give it some chickens. Eminence is an Australian-based symphony orchestra, and they play music from popular games. We'll be following in their footsteps of their latest concert, A Night in Fantasia. Plus, Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 2, more Aya and the Doc, but first...
He's Gamers News! More details have been announced about this year's E3. Just 32 companies will be taking part, compared to over 400 at last year's event. Only 2 independent developers have secured berths, Foundation 9 Entertainment and ID Software, with the rest of the slots being taken by industry heavyweights. Those able to attend the event has also been dramatically reduced, from over 60,000 last year to under 5,000 invitation only in 2007. The event will be held in July. We've got an invitation.
Sony have applied to the United States Patent Office for a patent on a handheld controller that will have detectable tracking and will be sensitive to all kinds of motion, including acceleration, velocity, tilt, pitch, yaw, and roll. The sensor will have 4 LEDs to capture the motion. The LEDs will be mounted on the controller itself. A camera next to the player's TV will record the position of the LEDs every second. There's no release date on the controller, but it's expected to be an optional accessory for the PlayStation 3.
Capcom have announced Harvey Birdman Attorney at Law for the Nintendo DS. Harvey Birdman originated in the 60s but has gained a new life thanks to his cartoon show being a cult hit on late-night television. The player will assume the role of Harvey and have to find clues at crime scenes, interview suspects and witnesses, and then prosecute the case in front of a judge and jury in a courtroom. Capcom scored a big hit with a similar model in their game Phoenix Wright. Harvey Birdman Attorney at Law is due to be released in the US between September and November this year. An Australian release date has yet to be confirmed.
Good game!
Okay gamers, can you guess the title of this worldly puzzle game? Answer at the end of the show. Jung, could the Wii drought be over?
Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 2 is the latest in Z franchise.
For anyone who's been in a coma for the last 15 years, it's based heavily on the anime series, released first in Japan in the late 80s. You follow the adventures of Goku and his friends defending Earth against a multitude of villains.
Most of which are represented in the game. All in all, you've got about 120 characters that you can play as or against.
Well, no surprises, Jung. It is essentially a fighter. It has illusions of RPG elements in the story mode, but it is basically about mastering button combos and vanquishing your foes.
I've got to say, as a fighter, it does this quite well. The moves are typically cheesy, like Hyper Smash Attack and Super Mega Ultra Power Punch, but after an extensive training process, you get the hang of it and it makes for some nice and lengthy battles. I even got a 56-hit combo at one stage, Badge, with one button.
Oh, that's not bad, but I got mine up to 69, but that's okay, Jung. Now, I really like the look of this one. It's quite simplistic at first, but fans of the genre will like the smooth lines and the exaggerated characters.
I like how the camera puts you up front and center as well. It's unobtrusive, and the flying is cool, and the flying and fighting is even cooler.
As you progress through the game, you earn cash and XP, which you can then trade in for skill-ups and bonus moves. One point the developers really wanted to highlight is the almost limitless customization of your character.
But I actually found the customization of the characters to be tedious and cumbersome, and the navigation is way too complex. It gets old fast.
Yeah, I mean, why would you want to have less hit points or less attack points? It doesn't make sense. It's a bit silly.
I'd even go as far as to say is the customization and the equipping system in this game doesn't give enough to warrant its own existence.
Yeah, it would have been a better game without it.
I know this isn't much, but here...
There are several modes in the game, such as Dragon Story Mode, which is a campaign-style mode, and it covers pretty much every event in Dragon Ball Z history. Dueling is your multiplayer option, but if you're like me and you want to go straight to the fighting, then the Ultimate Battle is the choice for you.
But then, Jung, you miss out on the awesome story.
Hot. What is this?
Goku,
Goku's drawing energy from the Tree of Might! Setting his sights on his opponent, Goku launched a super spirit bomb made from the energy of the Tree of Might.
Yeah, we gotta hand it to the writers for that one. Priceless.
Chicken me.
I'm giving an 8 to this one. Be under no illusions. It calls itself an action RPG, but this game is a fighter. I like how it uses the Wiimote and the nunchuck, and I like the drum and bass soundtrack. Hey.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, fans of the show will like it, and take out the bad equipping system, and you've got a really great game. I'm giving it 7 out of 10.
Overclocking is tweaking your PC to maximize its performance. But when you do this, you have to ensure you have adequate cooling. With the help of the best overclockers in Australia, we'll be looking at some extreme cooling systems over the next few weeks. So you've got Dino here. Welcome to Good Game.
Thanks.
Dino's speciality is water cooling. So what exactly is water cooling?
Well, water cooling is a form of computer component cooling, which uses water as its main ingredient.
So what components do you need?
There's a water block. It's made out of copper because copper is one of the best materials to translate heat. This is where the tubes go. You need a radiator, which cools the water. You need a reservoir and a water pump, which pumps the water through, and obviously some coolant as well.
So how does it cool the system down?
What happens is you've got a very hot processor underneath. It heats up the copper. The water travels through these loops, and this heat is transferred onto the block, and the water cools it down. The way it cools it down is it actually goes to a radiator through which the water passes. The air cools those channels, circulates back into the block, and voila, you've got a cooling system. That's how it cools it down.
So are there any risks associated with water cooling?
Yes, there are, but I personally think if you're careful, you won't really run into those if you have good preparation. You need to make sure that all the tubing is correctly seated, clamped together. The system has to be tested outside of the case just for water leaking, just in case it leaks. If it does leak, you could pretty much kill your $1,000 CPU and a $1,000 graphics card. So you have to be very careful how you do that.
In the scale of things, is it the most effective cooling system?
The advantage of water cooling is that it doesn't need much maintenance once you've actually installed it. So water cooling would cool a very hot processor or a very high overclock. And to run a system at 24/7 settings, so normal day-to-day sort of stuff, games, it's very good. However, if you are an extreme overclocker and you're going for world records and things like that, there are more effective ways to cool a computer system, and water cooling won't be able to do that, and you need to go below 0.
And this week's review winner is... Eminence is a symphony orchestra formed by young Australian Hiro Yura, who play music from some of the most popular games, such as Metal Gear Solid, Final Fantasy, and Shadow of the Colossus. Eminence invited Good Game along to the rehearsal and performance of A Night in Fantasia, their latest concert, in which composers join the musicians to hear their work performed live.
Eminence is really about revitalizing the classical instrumentalists into the wider, younger audience, especially like people our age, people in high school, young adults, people like that who hasn't really got the chance to actually listen to a proper orchestra. If we play a medium which people understand, then it's easier for them to actually relate to the music and come and watch us play, really.
this kind of music is very different to, let's say, Bach, Mozart, Beethoven, in the sense that it really works together with the graphics of the games. And what we try to do is, trying to have a live music and have footages on screen, so we can hopefully create the same kind of character and mood for the audience, and hopefully in a sense that we can use the game as a media to actually connect the audience or normal gamers who might not necessarily have the opportunity to hear a live ensemble. So at least we can exposing the symphonic sound to them, so they can actually hear a symphony orchestra, otherwise they might not have. You can actually see how the music is created, not just the final product.
I'm a gamer, I like games. I know game music are good. In the beginning, I actually got into game music by playing Secret of Mana 2. And although, yes, it's like MIDI files and stuff like that, I thought the music was quite good, simple yet effective. And when I graduated, I said, hey, we should really do it, People want to listen to this kind of stuff. I think it's about time game music got respect that they deserve from the classical instrumentalists. We got heaps of games in our orchestra. Especially our percussionist, he's all into FPS and stuff like that. Our brass section leader was saying, hey, we're playing Halo. That was 2 years ago. We're playing Halo, I'm in,
Actually, having the composer here, what impact does that have on you?
With the composers here, we can go straight to the source and go, is this what you had intended in your head? Because sometimes when composers, what they hear in their head and what actually came out on the scores could be quite different. So with the composers available here, we can actually make adjustments to the scores and try to make everyone happy.
How does it feel to have your music played live by an orchestra?
自分は超嬉しくて
I'm very happy, and also I get to see the reaction of the audience directly, so I'm very, very happy.
Where did you get your inspiration for Tekken Dark Resurrection from?
一番初めに
The first movie I saw was that of dojo, which is like a martial arts training area. I live by the afternoon sunlight, and it gave me a very sad feeling, and I got my music based from that image. We only have challenges with the old schools, like the original Zelda and the Super Mario. Obviously, it's just beeps and, it's just notes. And the Nintendo system had only, I think it's about 3 notes they can play at once. We can play a lot of notes at once here. So that has some limits, but everything has been rearranged to fit a symphony orchestra. The problems we have nowadays is, I think, the synthesized music. That's hard to play in the orchestra because synthesizers don't work like an orchestra. They can cut corners whilst we can't. At the same time, we can make lots of colors whilst they can't. Also, stuff like synthesized drums, it's not exactly the same kind of sound that we produce in a drum setting in the orchestra.
I really like One-Winged Angel from Final Fantasy. It's a very, very energetic piece. It involves obviously a full orchestra, but also involves a choir as well. And then when the voices come out for the first time, it's fabulous. It's fantastic. Not only it has a tune, but it also adds to a special color to it as well. So yeah, I really like that face.
Good evening, my name's Richard Farkas. Welcome to Gamer Tonight. First-person shooters, or FPS as they are known by gamers, are the fastest, most intense form of gaming. People fight for their lives in blood-soaked arenas, firing lasers, grenades, and as much mangled forms of English at each other as possible. It's the most competitive form of gaming in the world. Tonight, we're talking to a player with one of the top trigger fingers in cyberspace. Mark Mann, thank you for joining us.
T.Y., Richard.
So Mark, tell me, what is it about FPS gaming that makes you like it so much?
Well, I guess I just like the sounds of the noobs when they're getting on. They're all like, dude, you're hacking, there's no way you could have known I was there. And I'm all, oh my god, noob L2P.
I see. So how many hours would you play a week?
All the time, dude. I wake up, go to dust, and have a nice cup of noob sauce with my peanut butter on toast.
What about your social life? Do you manage to have friends, a girlfriend even, and keep up your gaming skills?
Yeah, for sure, man. But sometimes I get calls from a woman, and she's all, babe, we need to talk. And I'm all like, hold on, I got an op. She generally hangs up after that.
Okay. Well, what other games do you play, Mr. Man?
Whoa. There are games other than CS?
Yeah.
You mean like Source? 'Cause you know, I've been playing since Beta 1. Doesn't that make you feel inferior? What beta did you start in?
I actually don't play CS.
It is now clear that I am the highest ranking gamer in this server. Room. BBQ Chicken 1.
I think you should go now.
Well, it's still kind of lame, but backed by popular demand.
It's not lame, it's the cool wall.
All right, first up, Spectrobes.
Spectrobes, yeah, look good to me, but I found it really repetitive. It's like Pokemon with a more cumbersome combat model. I'm gonna put it at the lower end of room temp.
Lower end of room temperature?
Do it, sir. What about this one, Titan Quest Immortal Throne? You've been playing it.
I have. It's an expansion, and it's a lot of fun. You know, it's very much a Diablo clone, so it's a bit of an old idea. But if you're a fan of that kind of thing, yeah, definitely like it. So I'm going to go the higher end of room temperature for that.
Not quite cool.
Not quite cool, because it's a bit of an old kind of concept, but it's still a lot of fun. Next up, we have a game that you would not normally think was a game when you saw it on the shelf. It's called Every Extend Extra.
Looks like some graphical software to me.
It does a little bit, yeah.
It's from the makers of Lumines 2, and it's all about weaving music into the gameplay. The object is to destroy your own ship at the right place in the right time, setting off a chain reaction that'll get you the most points.
You know, I compare it a little bit more to Geometry Wars. I know they're different games, but Geometry Wars is only a few bucks, whereas this is teetering on 70, so...
Yeah, it's a bit much, and there is a demo for Lumines 2 on there. I found myself playing that a bit more. So I think we can agree on just room temp for
Yeah,
that?
I think room temperature is pretty fair, you know. All right, now last year you gave Guitar Hero 2 10 out of 10 for the PS2.
Yes.
What do you think of it now that it's come out on the 360?
Well, I don't regret my 10 out of 10 for the PS2 version of Guitar Hero 2 at all. And the 360 version has got something I absolutely love. It's called downloadable content. But it has some HD TV issues. The audio doesn't match up with the visuals. It's some HD lag, and it makes playing it on Expert absolutely impossible.
Yeah, no, it's a bit of a shame, really, because a lot of people who have 360s are going to have HD TVs. And also the guitar shape itself is a little bit uncomfortable, so I don't know. How are we going to rate this? What do you think?
Yeah, no, my advice is to stick with the PS2 version of Guitar Hero 2 until they can somehow fix it with their downloadable content. I'm sticking it in room temp.
You know, it's still a really great game, though. It's a lot of fun, so I don't know.
Well, for me, it's like downloadable content, HD lag. Downloadable content, HD lag.
Can we go the upper end of room temperature?
If you need to. But,
I think I need to.
Okay.
What kind of crazy people play this on Xbox anyway?
Now, speaking of 360, the last time we did the cool wall, we had a few words to describe Sonic on the 360.
Yes, we did.
Do you remember those?
I do remember those.
But here is the Wii version. What word would you use to describe that?
Meh.
Meh?
Well, you know, it's better. It's better. They've thought more about what Sonic is, which is fast levels, and the great thing about the original games was you could do the first 2 levels without even looking at it with your eyes closed. It's hectic and fast, but it's still not a great game, you know, it's okay.
Well, they did definitely think about what made Sonic successful in the first place, which was he was blue.
Exactly. You know, it's the best Sonic we've had in a long time, so I think we can go room temperature.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. And what's that last one in your hand, right?
Ah, now this I've managed to get some forum goers to play with me. It's Pirates vs. Vikings vs. Knights 2. It's a free mod you can get for Half-Life, and it's pretty cool, you know. It's
You
what
and
are
your
shaking
pirates.
Pirates
You and
are
your
cool.
pirates.
They're cool, okay. No, it's good, you know. It needs a few more classes and that kind of thing, but it's in early stages. And
And the good thing is, if you have Half-Life 2, it's a source mod, so you can get it for free. That makes it cool.
it's cool because it's free and it's fun and it has pirates.
Yar.
Yar.
And I'm gonna stand on the cool side of cool.
Why do you get to stand on the cool side? I'm on the cool side next week.
No, you're not.
Good game.
I have linked your battle interface with my command console. I want you to have the privilege of starting the 3rd Tiberium War. The war to end all wars.
The wait is over. Command & Conquer 3 is here, and we are wearing our smiley pants.
Don't let the last installment of Command & Conquer hold you back. Tiberian Wars is a brand new shine on an old game.
Kane is back, and he's meaner, scarier, and bolder than ever. GDI retain their stiff upper lip tank rollout tactics, while Nod retain their radical stealthy tactics, and there's another faction, the Scrin.
Aliens, Jung, aliens!
That's right, which mixes it up a little bit. They're all about slow building and devastating air attacks, teleportation, and twisting the very fabric of space. It makes for some interesting attack and defense strategies according to what faction you're up against.
Is it me, Jung, or do they look a little bit too much like Zerglings?
Yeah, they do, but I actually think they're more reminiscent of Protoss.
Operations underway.
Each faction's viewpoint on the war is told in interlocking stories through FMV. Now, a lot of people say FMV is something that belongs in the past with CD-ROM games like Wing Commander, but I found it really gets you invested in the story, and it's a lot of fun watching the scenes.
The prediction is another decade of peace. Me, I say it's the calm before the storm. For 28 years of fighting out, there's one thing I can say with absolute certainty. As long as there's Tiberium on Earth, not as a serious threat.
EA seems to have taken a page out of Relic's very successful book, seeing as CNC3 features the same fast-paced gameplay we've seen from Company of Heroes and Dawn of War. 5-10 minutes and the game's decided.
The detail of the maps is the first thing you notice, ranging from cars overturned with their windows shot out to lonely guys hanging around a phone box.
The smoke, haze, reflections, and blurring effects look sweet. Super weapons make you drool. And using Ghostbuster guns to shoot down troops is just cool. Plus, the real-life areas like the Pentagon make you feel like you're really fighting for Earth.
Intelligence data updated.
The interface panels and comic book-like pictures do take up a lot of the screen, and I don't think EA realises no one has a 15-inch monitor anymore. We can actually read it. It's a shame there wasn't anything there to scale this down.
Even though there is a little bit of I'm shooting your base and you don't even seem to care AI, the single player does make you think on your feet and you have to adapt your tactics according to the enemy's weak points and what's happening at the time.
Missions range from sneaky commando attacks to full domination. Lots of battle statistics and medals really keep things going in single player.
Although I was disappointed to see the Commando doesn't really make a presence in multiplayer. You can make him later on in the game, but by that point everyone else's defenses are too high.
You know, multiplayer is really where an RTS shines, and once you get CNC3 patched up and online, it's pretty shiny. Tech trees and resources are universal, and each faction has its own play style. Also, a major part of online play is holding an area that contains resources.
Absolutely. There is in-game support for spectators and shoutcasters. Anyone around the world can watch your match, even if they don't have the game, and there's tools for shoutcasters to draw lines and circles around the highlights of the game. This, to me, is huge. Not only is it good for esports, but it sets up the longevity of the game for years to come.
I found Battlecast a little bit cumbersome online, and I wasn't actually able to connect to a live game. Also, I only found one game in the archives that was commentated, and it wasn't voice commentated. But, you know, it is early days for this.
That's a shame.
Yeah, it is a bit of a shame, but things will get better. It has a lot of potential. Another thing online is that the factions are slightly unbalanced. It's more of a tank rush than anything else, which makes infantry a little bit obsolete, and that gives Nod a slight advantage as well. There is another patch on the way, and they say that they'll correct a lot of these things, but be aware at the time of recording, we've already already had 4 patches for Command & Conquer. Oh my god.
Command & Conquer 3 was announced for the WCG 2007, but before it was released. This is a bit odd to us because usually the WCG games are decided by a public vote. I'm sure it'll stand on its own 2 feet anyway, but still.
It would have been great for a whole new revolution in RTS to come with CNC3. There is nothing new here, but deep down I'm kind of glad it's more of the same, Jung. You know, it's a solid RTS, it's hard to fault, that has enough of a trip down memory lane to make an old classic look and feel revitalized. It's a good solid RTS.
If you're a hardcore RTS fan and you're after something different, I can suggest Supreme Commander. It's RTS on a grander scale. Or there's also Company of Heroes, which has a very strong competitive scene at the moment.
I keep going back to CNC3, and it's not just to run over infantry with my harvester.
Unit under attack.
Although that's a big part of it. I'm slapping 9 out of 10 on this baby. It's the most fun I've had since Company of Heroes.
I'm giving it 8.5 Prodigal franchise chickens.
La 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 la, so you think you can't game.
Command & Conquer 3 Tiberium Wars is the latest game in the long-running series, and this time there's a new alien race called the Skrin. On top of the normal super weapon, they have a really big, expensive floating mothership which is ready to rain down Independence Day like terror on your enemy's base. There's only one problem though. It's slower than a learner driver driving uphill in a car with no petrol. That's pretty slow. Also, when you deploy it for the first time, all your enemies are alerted to its presence, giving them enough time to build up anti-air defenses to shoot it down. So try this instead. Build a mastermind, which is the Skrin commando type unit.
Training.
Then also build a signal transmitter, but don't place it just yet.
Building.
And finally, get $5,000 in the bank. Then grab your mastermind, walk him over to the enemy base, and capture one of their outlying structures.
Enemy base sighted. Building captured.
As soon as you capture the structure, place your signal transmitter down and immediately deploy your mothership.
Deployed. Our base is...
And voila! You've now got your mothership directly in the enemy base, and you've also given them brown trousers. Well done. Until next week, this is Aya, out.
So did you guess the game for this week? It was Another World, otherwise known as Out of This World or Outer World.
It was known for its tricky puzzles and interesting cutscenes. It was one of the prettiest games ever made on DOS.
Well, gamers, it's time for us to log.
Next week, we've got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and more reviews. Plus, we'll be talking to the lead developer of the upcoming game World in Conflict and getting a sneak peek.
Bajo out.
Junglist out.